Truth doesn't need your permission to exist.
He laughed, right in a child's face. Not the kind of laugh that comes from amusement, but the cold, sharp laugh of a grown man trying to make a little girl feel small. In the middle of a busy sporting goods store, a police officer smirked when 12-year-old Amaya proudly said, "My mom is in Special Forces." His reply, "Come on, kid. Someone like her could never be one of them." The words cut deeper than any insult Amaya had ever heard. Strangers turned, whispers spread, eyes stared, and, in that moment, one young girl stood frozen, torn between pride for her mother and the sting of public humiliation from a man in uniform. What Amaya didn't know? At that very moment, Sergeant Major Nicole Richardson, her mother, was already walking into the store, in full uniform, about to change everything. If stories of courage, truth, and justice inspire you, subscribe now, because you won't want to miss what happens next. It was supposed to be just another Saturday at the mall, nothing special. Just shoes, friends, and teenage chatter. 12-year-old Amaya Richardson stood in the sneaker aisle of Dick's Sporting Goods, flipping through boxes with that familiar kid excitement, the kind that only comes with a fresh pair of Nikes. On the horizon, she laughed with her best friend Kane about school, inside jokes, the little things that matter most at 12. Then between giggles, Amaya dropped a simple truth. "My mom's not picking me up till she's done at Fort Bragg," she said, casual as can be. "She's in Special Forces, so her schedule's kind of all over the place." Kane froze. "Wait, your mom's in the Army? Like, fighting? For real?" Amaya just shrugged. "Yeah, she's Sergeant Major Nicole Richardson. Just got back from a mission overseas." To her, it wasn't bragging. It was pride. Her mom wasn't just a soldier. She was her hero. But to one man nearby, those words weren't pride. They were a punchline. Leaning against a rack of hoodies, off-duty but badge still on display like a trophy, was Officer Colton Reeves. His laugh cut through the air, cold, mocking, sharp enough to turn heads 3 aisles over. He shook his head, smirking. "Special Forces? Kid, I've been in law enforcement 20 years. There's no way your mom's running with the Green Berets, especially not someone like her." And just like that, the room changed. It wasn't just a dismissal. It was an insult wrapped in authority. One that silenced Amaya, humbled her in front of strangers, left her standing there, small, exposed, and completely unsure what to say next. The whole store seemed to hold its breath. But what Officer Reeves didn't know? He wasn't just talking to a kid. He was about to meet the woman he just insulted, and she was already on her way. That laugh, wasn't the kind you just brush off. It was the kind meant to cut, to make you shrink where you stood. Officer Colton Reeves leaned in, close enough to feel the power in his posture, his grin spreading wider as shoppers glanced up from the racks. They pretended not to stare, but no one could look away. Then he spoke, loud, clear, for everyone to hear. "Look, sweetheart," he said, voice dripping with condescension. "I get it. Kids make things up. My boy used to tell people I was Spider-Man. Same kind of thing. Cute, but not real." Heat rushed up Amaya's neck. Her hands trembled as she slid the shoebox back onto the shelf, the scrape echoing louder than it should have. Her friend Kane whispered urgent, "Just ignore him. He doesn't know." But ignoring him wasn't an option, because Reeves wasn't done. He chuckled again, shaking his head like the idea of Nicole Richardson in Special Forces was absurd. "Trust me, kid," he said. "I've worked side by side with real heroes. I've met the guys who actually go overseas, the ones who do the dangerous stuff." He paused, then added, cold and deliberate, "And let me tell you, they don't look like your mom." The words didn't just land, they crashed into her. This wasn't just about doubting a career, it was about doubting her mother's right to be there. A black woman, a soldier, a leader, someone he couldn't, or wouldn't, see as a hero. Whispers spread down the aisle. A mother with a toddler pretended to compare socks, but kept glancing over. 2 teenagers snickered, phones already recording. The humiliation pressed down, like a weight on Amaya's chest. Her lips quivered, but she forced the words out. You don't know anything about her. For a single second, Reeves's smile faltered, but he recovered fast, clapped his hands together, like the conversation was closed. Sure, kid, whatever you say. And then, silence. Thick, heavy. No one spoke. No one stepped forward. No one defended her, and that silence, more than the laugh, more than the smirk, that was what cut the deepest. Amaya stood frozen, sneakers stuck to the floor. But inside, her chest burned, not just with shame, with pride. She had spoken the truth. So why wasn't that enough? Amaya stood frozen. Every whisper in the store crawled across her skin like fire. And Reeves? He wasn't done. He had an audience now, and he loved it. Leaning back against the rack of hoodies, arms folded, he smirked, like he was daring her to keep fighting. Then, he turned, why not to her but to the strangers pretending to browse, and announced, "See? That's what I'm talking about. Cute little kid, making up fairy tales. Wants her mom to be a hero so bad, she's telling tall tales, right here in the sneaker aisle. Fairy tales." The words cut deep. Amaya's throat tightened, but she swallowed hard and pushed back. "It's not a story. It's true." Reeves tilted his head, slow, mocking, like her defiance was just more entertainment. "Tell you what," he said, grinning. "If your mom's really special forces, maybe she should come by the station sometime. We could all use a laugh." The crowd shifted. A teenage boy near checkout chuckled under his breath. A woman with a basket of clearance shirts frowned, but said nothing. Phones glinted, cameras angled. The moment was turning into a show. Kane tugged at Amaya's sleeve. "Let's just wait outside," she whispered, nervous. But Amaya couldn't move. Her fists clenched at her sides, nails digging into her palms. This wasn't about sneakers. It wasn't about bragging. This was about her mother, the strongest person she'd ever known, being laughed at. Like a joke, in front of strangers. Her chest burned, but when she spoke, her voice only trembled slightly. "You'll see, she's coming." Reeves laughed, rocking back on his heels. "Sure she is. Maybe she'll parachute right through. The skylight, huh?" His voice echoed, bouncing off shelves stacked with backpacks, jerseys, and the silence of everyone who stayed quiet. The insult wasn't just aimed at Amaya anymore. It was entertainment. Some shoppers smirked, others looked away, uncomfortable. But no one spoke up. Inside, Amaya's heart pounded. Doubt crept in, cold and cruel. Maybe I should have stayed quiet. Maybe no one will ever believe me. But even through the shame, even through the silence, one thought held her steady. Her mom's truth didn't need their approval. The silence in the store was suffocating. Amaya's chest rose and fell, fighting to keep her breath steady. Reeves tilted his chin, watching. Her, like a cat toys with its prey. "You're awfully quiet now," he taunted. "Starting to realize you stretched the truth a little?" The words stabbed, deep. But Amaya didn't look away. Her fists clenched tighter, nails biting into her palms. Beside her, Kane whispered, "Amaya, please, we can go. You don't have to keep standing here." But she did. She couldn't back down. Not now. Not when her mother's honor was on the line. Reeves leaned in, his voice dropping, low enough to feel personal, but still loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Look, kid, I'm trying to save you from yourself. Tell stories like this and people are gonna laugh. You don't even know what real sacrifice looks like." Amaya's ears burned. Real sacrifice? She thought of the nights her mom was gone. Months overseas. The medals on their living room wall. The letters written in pencil because phones weren't safe. Those weren't fairy tales. They were real. But in that moment, none of it mattered. Because no one believed her. Phones rose higher. Whispers circled, like a storm closing in. A man muttered, "Just let the kid be." But it was too quiet, too late. Not loud enough to stop Reeves, Amaya swallowed and forced the words out. One more time. You're wrong. You'll see. She's coming. Reeves smirked. All right, I'll wait. If your mom really walks in here, in uniform, I'll buy you those sneakers myself. He paused and then added, but until then, maybe keep the fairy tales at home. His laughter echoed, harsh, mocking, bouncing off the walls. The humiliation pressed, down heavier than before. Every second felt like an hour, and then, faintly, Amaya heard it, the sound of boots against tile, steady, certain, growing louder. Her heart leapt into her throat. She turned her head toward the sliding glass doors at the mall entrance. The moment she had been praying for was already unfolding. Her mother was coming, and she was about to walk into a scene where every eye was locked on a trembling little girl and a man who just dared to doubt a hero. The sliding doors at the mall entrance hissed open, letting in a rush of chatter, footsteps, the hum of the food court. Most shoppers barely noticed, until one figure stepped inside, and without saying a word, she turned every head. Sergeant Major Nicole Richardson walked in like someone who had nothing to prove, and everything already earned. Her camouflage uniform, sharp, patches on her sleeve catching the fluorescent light. Beret tucked neatly under one arm, and with every step, boots. Striking the polished floor, authority echoed through the store. Amaya saw her first. Relief hit her chest so hard, it almost knocked the breath out of her. Her heart pounded, louder than the whispers, louder than the shame. For a second she wanted to run, into her mother's arms. But something in the way Nicole moved, focused, composed, unshaken, made her stand still. Reeves noticed next. At first, his smirk stayed. Just another parent coming to pick up a kid. But then, his eyes caught the insignia on her uniform. His smile faltered, just for a second. Then he forced it back, clinging to his confidence like a lifeline. Nicole crossed the aisle, without hesitation. Shoppers instinctively stepped aside. She stopped beside her daughter, placed one hand, gently, on Amaya's shoulder. That single touch? It drained the tremble from the girl's body. Then, calm as steel, she asked, "What's going on?" Reeves straightened, cleared his throat. "Evening, ma'am. Just clearing up a misunderstanding." Amaya's lips trembled, but she found her voice. "He said I was lying, that you couldn't be who you are." Nicole's gaze shifted to Reeves. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The silence between her words was heavier than any shout. "You mocked my daughter in front of strangers. You called her truth a fairy tale." Reeves forced a chuckle, but this time it sounded thin, weak. "Kids, you know how they are. Big imaginations. I was just having a little fun." Nicole didn't blink. Respect doesn't begin with laughter at a child. The store had gone still. Even the background music seemed to fade, like the air itself leaned in to listen. Amaya straightened beside her mother, pride, quiet, fierce, pushing out the shame she'd carried just moments before. Reeves shifted. His confidence was leaking now. "I didn't mean anything by it. Just thought it was unusual, that's all." Nicole tilted her head, slightly. "Unusual doesn't mean impossible. It means you've never seen it. And maybe the problem isn't me being here. Maybe the problem is, you never imagined I could be." Her words landed, like stone. A ripple moved through the crowd, subtle nods, murmurs of agreement. Reeves swallowed. "Look, Sergeant Major, I never said anything about race. Or women. You're putting words in my mouth." Nicole's gaze didn't waver. "You didn't have to say it. Your laugh said it for you." A man near the register muttered, "She's right." Someone else whispered, "She's the real thing." Reeves's face flushed, his smirk gone. He cleared his throat. Fine, I'm sorry. Nicole shook her head. Not to me. To her. Every phone camera tilted higher, every eye locked on him. Silence. Long. Uncomfortable. Finally, Reeves looked at Amaya. Voice stiff. I'm sorry, kid. I shouldn't have laughed at you. You told the truth, and I didn't believe you. That was wrong. Amaya didn't shrink. She held his gaze, just for a beat, then turned to her mother. Nicole gave the slightest nod. The crowd murmured. Some clapped, quiet, respectful. Others shook their heads at Reeves, who now looked less like an officer, and more like a man stripped bare in front of strangers. Nicole straightened, hand still on her daughter's shoulder, and in a voice clear, steady, and full of quiet power, she said, Next time, before you laugh at a child, remember this. Truth doesn't need your permission to exist. The air in the store felt different now. Reeves's smirk was gone, replaced by the stiff, uneasy silence of a man who realized he hadn't just lost an argument, he'd lost respect. Around him, the shoppers were no longer just bystanders, they had become witnesses to a moment he could never laugh away. Nicole Richardson didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't need to shout. Her presence filled the room, not with anger, but with authority. And that authority? It wasn't just in the stripes on her sleeve. It was in the way she stood, calm, grounded, unshaken, beside her daughter, steady as stone. Reeves muttered, almost defensive. I already apologized. Nicole's gaze held him, firm, unwavering. Then live like it. Next time you meet a child with pride in their voice, don't strip it away, let them keep it. Because once you take that from a kid, it's not so easily given back. Her words landed, steel wrapped in velvet. This time, Reeves had no comeback, no smirk, no audience. He lowered his eyes, gave a stiff nod, and stepped back toward the exit, no longer the center of attention, just a man retreating. Under the weight of his own arrogance. The applause that followed wasn't loud, but it was steady. Scattered claps. From strangers who had seen enough. Some clapped with admiration. Others, with quiet relief. Amaya's chest swelled. The humiliation, washed away by something far stronger. Pride. Pride in her mother. Pride in herself. For standing tall, even when no one believed her. Nicole looked down at her daughter. You all right? Amaya nodded, quickly. Yeah, I hated that. It happened. Her mother's hand squeezed her shoulder. I know, but sometimes the hardest moments teach us more than 100 quiet days ever could. Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about speaking. Anyway. Tears pricked Amaya's eyes. But this time, they weren't from shame. They were from relief, from strength, from knowing. She had told the truth, and her truth had stood. Then a man stepped forward, baseball cap, soft eyes. His voice was clear. Ma'am. Thank you. I've got a daughter myself, she's 9. I hope she grows up with that kind of courage. Nicole gave a simple nod. Then remind her of this. Respect costs nothing, but withholding it can scar someone deeply. The man nodded, his eyes softening, before stepping back. As mother and daughter walked toward the exit together, heads turned again. But this time, not in mockery, in admiration. The whispers weren't cruel, they were thoughtful, heavy with meaning. And for Amaya, the lesson carved itself deep. Never let anyone laugh you out of your own truth. If this story resonated with you, if you believe that truth deserves to be defended, no matter who doubts it, then don't just walk away. Share this story. Let it remind someone that their voice matters, even when the world tries to silence it. And if you want to hear more powerful stories, like this, of courage as of justice, of truth standing tall. Subscribe now.